This podcast is dedicated to people who are ready to take ownership of what it means to be born with high sensory intelligence and how to bring it into service for business, career, and organizations globally. Hello and welcome to another episode of the High Sensory Intelligence Podcast with me, Willow McIntosh, founder of Illuminance and leader of the High Sensory Intelligence movement. This podcast is dedicated to reframing the trait known as sensory processing sensitivity into high sensory intelligence in order for us to recognize its advantages and its gifts to us and to the world. So this week I am very excited to be talking about our role as people born with the trait of high sensory intelligence. This is a genetic personality trait that we inherit. It's not something that we develop. It's not something that goes wrong. We don't suddenly become high sensory as a result of our conditioning. It is something that we are actually born with. And that gives us some incredible confidence that it is intended by nature. We know that it's also showing up in 100 species of animals. It's represented in some of the greatest leaders that the world has ever seen. And for us individually, it is a tremendous opportunity to really embrace our purpose and our gifts and our role in the world. So what is our role as a high sensory intelligent person? Well, when we consider the trait, we understand it to be an ability to be able to process sensory data much more deeply. So in other words, the information that we're receiving through our senses is being processed cognitively at a deeper level. So we are actually picking up more sensory information. And when it comes to us recognizing what our gifts are, this often plays out or is apparent by the data that we are picking up in scenarios, whether it's at work, whether it's when we're working with clients, in whatever context it may be. You will find that you personally specialize in a particular area and your high sensory intelligence is supporting that. So many people who I support and who come to me for support around understanding the trait often want to know, well, what is my role? What is my purpose? And it's a topic that all of us as human beings want to know. I think we inherently realize that we are here to be of service in the world. We feel out of sync when we are not living a life of meaning and purpose and service. And so the question is always on our minds, what is my purpose? For high sensory people, this is particularly prevalent for us. It is particularly important for us to live in a life of purpose. Yes, it's important for all of us, of course. However, as high sensory people, we are very aligned to our cause in the world, and it's something that is deeply driving who we are and what we do. And typically we really struggle in life when we are on someone else's agenda, when we are in a job that perhaps we don't like to be in. It can drive us into a very, quite a serious depression in many cases. And so therefore understanding our role is very, very important. So in my experience, what I have found is that most of the time, a high percentage of the time, we make excellent coaches and consultants and healers. And Dr. Elaine Aron, who did some amazing work on the trait in the 90s and has done ever since, refers to us as being royal advisors. And I think that is an excellent way to view our ability. So if you were to consider a person who sits alongside somebody in royalty, and actually this happens a lot in the animal kingdom as well, where there is communication that happens from the high sensory animals to inform them of the environment, the territory, whether it's safe. It's very much geared towards their survival and evolution. And it's actually very much geared towards our survival and evolution as human beings. But we're really getting our heads around that. So sometimes we are the leaders as high sensory people. We make amazing leaders because we're so empathic. We understand people's higher why, the vision of why people are in a team, in a community, in a workplace. We're very good at aligning people to the greater vision, helping them to really align to their to their meaning and purpose within their roles, and we're very good at helping people to feel safe and supported and seen, especially. That's what makes us such amazing leaders. But also in terms of this royal advisor, we are excellent at advising, and that can be seen as our skills and abilities to be a consultant or to be a coach in some way. It's all about our interaction with people. And even if you are an artist, and I'll come to the phenomenon of the high sensory intelligent artist in just a moment, but if we consider this advisory role, if you were to picture a high sensory intelligent person at the side of a person in royalty, say for instance if we create a bit of a fictional example, if we were to consider a king or a queen has the role of overseeing the kingdom. Now, a high sensory intelligent person sitting at their side is going to be picking up on a great deal of data and information, extra sensory data and information, just in the same way that the animals are. So if you imagine the day-to-day role and life of the king or the queen, he or she will be conducting their daily activities, obviously overseeing their realm, talking to their peers and talking to the people that are helping them to make decisions and obviously run things. What's going to be happening is during all of those interactions, the high sensory intelligent advisor is going to be able to witness an overview of the whole scenario. Now, what's very interesting to recognize here is it wouldn't work if all of us were high sensory intelligent people. So 15 to 20% of the population are born with the trait. Now, it needs people not born with the trait, who are not receiving all of this sensory information. We need people to be able to make decisions and function in the world without the role or the process of more sensory data coming into the central nervous system. If we were all like that, it wouldn't work. There needs to be this balance. Nature knows what she's doing, obviously. Excuse me. So, excuse me 1 second, take a little sip of water. So considering that role, the advisor and the person in royalty, or the leader, the advisor to the leader, that is an excellent way to consider how we become such amazing coaches and consultants. So when people come to us and they come and sit in front of us, we will be able to tune in to their energy, to often the blocks that they're experiencing. We will be able to help them to create an awareness of themselves from a higher viewpoint, enabling the natural and innate process of healing to take place once there is an awareness of blocks or things that are in our way. We have an ability to facilitate and initiate transformation and in healing in others in terms of personal development. That's what makes us very good coaches and consultants. That's not to say that all high sensory people, not to say that non-high sensory people don't make good coaches and consultants. Of course, there are amazing coaches and consultants of all shapes and sizes out there. However, when it comes to recognizing our own role, it really helps to understand this royal advisor piece, the fact that we are able to see the bigger picture. And often when we're in front of people and we're coaching, consulting people, we are able to see the bigger picture of them. We're able to see the bigger picture of their lives, where they're going, how their past is affecting them, what's available to them into the future, and also the pieces that are in the way of them truly aligning to the best that they can be. Because we have the ability to utilize this extrasensory information, which is what makes us highly empathic, very intuitive, it makes us very creative, and it often helps us with visionary abilities. So that's a very important part of the process, which I often talk about, is the ownership of these abilities and the ownership of this, the ownership of our skills and abilities that really helps us to become of use in the world, in our roles, in our work, whether it is as a on a self-employed basis, or whether we are acting as advisors within organizations. And actually, if you really consider your role, if you are in an organization, there will be a natural tendency towards leadership and advising people in leadership, because we have this ability to see the bigger picture. We're picking up on a great deal of information. And the most important thing is to recognize that this information must be shared. It's not about us keeping quiet and not speaking up. We do need to get into the habit of speaking up. And this is why this process of ownership is so important, because the more that we take ownership of it, the more we trust the little, I want to say, the little kind of messages that we're receiving. When we trust those and we act on them, when we speak up, we will learn the effect that it has, the wonderful advantages that it brings to people when we share what we are receiving around us. And then as we begin to get used to that and start to trust it, the more of this process of ownership takes place, the better that we become at it, and the better service we are to ourselves and the people in the world around us. So the role is very much around just getting out there and doing it. And I can remember my own experience where I was in training for ages in terms of my own facilitation and getting my ownership of my reality, how I experience the world, and taking ownership of my high sensory intelligence. And I spent a great deal of time honing that and developing it. And even though I've been in a role of facilitating all of my life, there was a clear period where I thought, okay, I need to stop researching and learning about this and actually get out there and do it. And I can promise you, as soon as I got in front of someone who asked me to facilitate them in order to help them with their own personal development, the whole process of my ability just took over and did its thing with the most incredible results. And I will never forget when I really took ownership of how I am of service as a facilitator. And once I got into that flow, it just got more and more developed, and I took more and more ownership. I got better and better at it, and I got better and better results. So that's the key piece. It's not about overthinking it too much. And there's a previous podcast episode where I've really focused on that, about just getting out into the field and not overthinking it. It's about practicing, because we have to witness the ability coming through us. And that's not, oftentimes it's not a conscious connection that we have to our ability. It's something that's deep set and innate in us, and we literally just have to get out the way of it and allow it to come through. Hence why it's so important to be open to the information that we're receiving when we are in process, when we are with clients. And we will be amazed, and the people that we are facilitating will be amazed at just how helpful the information is that we are receiving. So that's the key piece that I'm really sharing today. It's, your role as a high sensory person to consider yourself as an advisor. Now, there's another side to this as well, which often comes up in terms of creativity and being a creative entrepreneur. Excuse me. So oftentimes it will show up as an ability, in the artist, in the dancer, in the singer, in the performer. So in the context of the performer, what's very interesting is whilst we are in relationship with other people in terms of presenting some kind of creative endeavor to them, whether it is a painting, whether it is a dance sequence, or whether it is a song. Now, what's fascinating here is, as high sensory people, we actually have a power within this. We actually have an ability to create healing and transformation in others through the medium of our creative expression. And I see this time and time again. So for instance, a good example is a singer, and I remember facilitating a singer recently through the ownership and recognition of her high sensory intelligence in terms of actually really understanding her role as a singer. So what's happening when she's singing and when she gets up on stage, she's aware that she moves into a profound place of vulnerability in order to truly engage with her voice and to enable her gift to come through into the song that she's singing and has written. There is an incredibly profound process of vulnerability that happens within that. And she is very, very conscious of what happens to the energy in the room when she moves into that place inside. Now, because of this high sensory intelligence, we are having a very rich experience of our inner world. We're very aware of the feelings in our bodies and the energy in our bodies. And remember that emotion is energy in motion. And as high sensory people, we're feeling the movement of energy come through us, and we can really feel it. We feel very, very deeply because we're processing sensory information more deeply. So we feel the movement of energy. Because we're highly empathic, we can feel the energy outside of us. We can feel the movement of energy in others. It's a reality. And it's something that makes us very, very good at what we do. So in the instance of this singer, what happens when she moves into that place of vulnerability, what's happening is the people in front of her are also moving into a place of vulnerability within themselves. Now, as soon as that happens, what then is happening is the layers of false self, or the layers of overthinking, the kind of day-to-day layers that we experience in terms of our ego, those start to fall away. And so those people are actually getting in an experience of their inner selves and their true selves, which is very much what's happening to the singer when she's on stage. So therefore, there is an energetic transformation that's happening in the room, and the singer herself is very, very aware of that. And so this helps to indicate that whilst we may be creative entrepreneurs in terms of singers, writers as well, artists, in whatever context our artistic expression may be, it's very important to recognize that there is still a transformation that is taking place. There is also another example where artists, when they are, and obviously over my time I've experienced a lot of facilitated a lot of high sensory artists along the way as well. And the same thing will happen when someone is standing in front of someone's creation, their artistic creation. It's evoking feeling. That's why we love art, why we love music, because it evokes feeling in us. Now that feeling again is energy in motion, and when we are acutely aware of actually the process that we are initiating in others from an energetic point of view, we begin to understand and see the bigger picture of what we are, of what our artistic expression is actually triggering and instigating in others, and then we will begin to understand our role again in a deeper sense. So it's very much around the experience of, it's very much around the development of others. That is the key piece to remember as high sensory intelligent people, is we have the ability to create transformation and healing and be of service to others as a result of how our gift is running through us. So all of us are here to be of service in some way or another. Whether we are high sensory or not, we are all here to serve in some way. We are all acutely aware of that. And I've said it before, you know, we are aware that a man or a woman who sits on piles of money in a castle by herself doesn't feel fulfilled. It's through the act of serving and giving. That's when we feel fulfilled, and that's when life tends to work for us and we get that feedback and that response from the world. So it's important to remember that that is where our meaning and our purpose lies, to consider, well, how am I born to be of service in the world? And when we get that aligned with what is most important to us in the world, with the way that we are experiencing our high sensory intelligence, when we get those three pieces lined up, that's when everything falls into place for us and everything really begins to make sense. So I hope that helps a little bit with identifying our role as a high sensory intelligent person. And I can't reiterate it more strongly. It really is about just getting out there and witnessing the way in which high sensory intelligence works through us. It's an incredibly powerful ability to have within us. And overthinking it and trying to conceptualize it will only ever get us so far. You know, they say that our head can only take us 80% of the way, and it's our hearts that take us that extra 20%, that leap of faith. And as soon as we engage the energy and the intelligence of our hearts, that's when we experience our gifts in action. And that is what it's all about. Thank you so much again for watching. It's a pleasure to have you here with me. And if you have any questions, or if there's any way that I can support you, please do reach out to me. I would be delighted to hear from you. Thank you so much again. Wishing you a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now. Join me on the next masterclass where I'll show you how to reveal your own high sensory intelligence, bringing you into alignment with your true purpose, career, business and personal success. To register your place today, visit highsensoryintelligence.com.